So Sarin, I just had a client come to me and say, I don't even know what type of equity compensation I have. What would you say?
Well, the first step is definitely to reach out to your HR department and start to get some of the documentation about the type of options you have, what the vesting schedule is. And then once we have that documentation, we can review that together and figure out what's going on and then what the next steps are.
Perfect, sounds good.
All right, so Catherine, the client has gotten all the documentations. We know what type of stock options they have. We know their vesting schedule. We know all the details. So the obvious next question is, do they exercise these stock options?
That is a great question, and it's not a one size fits all. I mean, exercising really, the schedule depends on your long-term goals, your priorities, the tax implications, your cash flow, your tax bracket, what we think about the long-term possibility of the company. It's really a financial decision, a tax decision, and a risk decision. So our clients with equity compensation, what happens to that equity compensation when they leave the company?
This is where that vesting schedule is really key. So any shares that have already vested, you still own, even if you're still not employed by that company. But any shares that have not vested, you basically are walking away from, or you're leaving that on the table. So a couple things to think about there. One is use that as a negotiation tactic for your next job and say to your employer, hey, listen, if I accept this job, I'm leaving X amount of dollars on the table. Can you give me a sign-on bonus? Can you match these equity compensation shares? The other thing to also know from a timing perspective, depending on your vesting schedule, some stock options vest monthly, some are quarterly, some are annually. You want to make sure that if you're close to that next vesting date, you don't quit and then forego that next batch that would have vested for you. So that's where really knowing and keeping up with your vesting schedule is really important. Catherine, obviously, equity compensation is a really important piece of the puzzle, right? How would you say it all factors into a larger financial plan?
Absolutely. So clients need to know that their equity compensation does make up a large percentage potentially of their overall financial plan. It's not just a bonus, it's a part of their overall wealth strategy. So that means we're going to think about it in holistic terms, diversification, tax reduction, risk, and how it aligns with your overall goals. Too often people either don't understand it or they ignore it, and we include your equity compensation in your total financial planning picture to make sure that we are using it to achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
Let me actually share a story about how we view stock options in real life with our clients. We recently had a client that we met with, and he had 2 stock options from 2 separate companies. One stock option, he actually had some capital gains. The stock had appreciated in value from vesting, and he had another stock option. His current company was a tech company, and it's not doing so well. So when I looked at the statements, what I realized as a strategy was we could sell stock number 1 for a gain and stock number 2 for a loss, and it would be a wash from a tax perspective. And what this meant to the client is one of their goals that we're currently actively working on is buying a home. And he was able to liquidate $80,000 tax-free from the sale of these 2 stocks. And now, instead of buying a fixer-upper home, they're actually going to be able to buy a ready, move-in ready home for themselves and to be able to start a family. So I thought that was a really
awesome,
wonderful real-life example of how you put your stock option to work for you and help you get ahead and get to your goals.
So we love working with our equity compensation clients. Having equity compensation can be life-changing, but you really have to know how it works and how to best integrate it into your financial plan. That's what we do at SMB and Green Bee. We help you navigate all of the choices around your equity compensation package.